Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy Retirement, where your certified retirement counselor, Mark Struthers, takes a holistic approach to retirement, going beyond finances and embracing holistic well-being. This YouTube channel will address not just the financial part of retirement, but also the social, the physical, and the emotional parts of retirement. Everything you need for healthier, a wealthier, and a happier retirement. Here is your host, Mark Struthers.
Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy Retirement, and it is Valentine's Day, as you can tell behind me. Today we are talking about love and money, two essential components that can either elevate a relationship or it can create tension and stress. Money is often the cause, or if not, it is the catalyst for other causes, because money has to do with communication, trust, and shared goals. And it is one area that, even if there are issues, baggage in relationship, and I've been in this industry for over 20 years, over half of that in the helping clients reach their goals. And often the other baggage in relationships often come out during arguments or disagreements about money. So because money requires communication, trust, and shared goals, it's a necessity that if you can, it can even increase the bond if you do communicate. So we're going to give you some tips for navigating financial discussions and strategies for maintaining a good relationship. It's tough to ignore the money side of the equation and have a healthy relationship with your spouse. So tips for navigating financial discussions: 1, open communication. Honest and transparent communication is key when discussing finances. Create a safe space where both partners feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, concerns, aspirations, in and around money. Sometimes having like a money date night will often work. Sometimes assuming voices don't get raised, going out to eat and discussing it, having a structured, even once a month, to where you have some frank and honest discussions and about money can be huge. It's making a concerted effort, being intentional about open communication. Setting goals together. Establish shared financial goals that align with the values and priorities as a couple. Quite often, if you do, money can be a catalyst for bad stuff, but it can be a catalyst for good stuff. It can lead you to talking more about yourself, what your goals are, your dreams, and making decisions as a couple, a big purchase. Paying off debt, planning for retirement. Obviously, that's one that I like for clients to have. Having a common objective. It's kind of like being on a team. If you're on that team, you're going to have disagreements, any of you that played sports. But if you have that common goal, you can most often move past those, usually fairly quickly, because you have that shared goal. Create a budget. And I would actually say, obviously developing a budget that outlines income, expenses, savings, and goals, that's the ideal. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, though. Even just tracking your spending habits, that can lead to kind of a natural budgeting. As soon as you start tracking, don't make judgments, be open-minded. Obviously some folks don't want their stuff they spend on cut, but they want to cut the spouses. So I think tracking first, and if you can, eventually, sometimes it just happens organically, lead to creating a budget. 4, delegating responsibility. Assign financial tasks and responsibility based on each partner's strengths and interests. This can help distribute the workload. Also, if one person is doing all the work, quite often, even if it's not intentional, there could be things that aren't maybe communicated. That can lead to mistrust if one person has control and the other doesn't. And what happens if one person gets sick, or especially when one person starts to age. So delegating and trying to find a balance for you're both involved. You're both trying to help to reach that common goal. 5, if needed, seek professional help. If you have struggled doing it together, seeking a financial counselor or a financial advisor. There are financial counselors out there where it's more about money and budgeting rather than having to pay for a experienced CFP, certified financial planner, to where you might not need all the tax and investing and inflation and estate planning and insurance stuff. You might, but if it's just the case that you're having trouble working together as a couple, having some sort of counselor, it can be help. And strategies for maintaining a healthy financial partnership: regularly review your finances, schedule regular check-ins to review your financial progress, adjust your budget as needed. That's like having a money date night. Setting aside some time where you don't have the kids around. In my house, it would actually be the dog too. Don't have the dog around, where you guys are reviewing your finances, having a safe spot to where you can talk about things, and realize that you're not going to solve everything in one date night. If arguments arise, make a note of them, circle back to them. This idea that you never go to bed angry, I don't necessarily, I never agreed with. There are some things that you are probably never going to fully address, because that's just, you're not going to solve every problem before you go to bed. But if you can operate from mutual respect, and if you do have a disagreement, to have it be a work in progress. Celebrate financial milestones. This is a big one. One of the biggest issues about financing is that's kind of all negative. I think people often view going to your accountant or your financial advisor as almost like pulling teeth. It's stuff they just don't want to talk about. They want to live their lives. They don't want to spend hours, unless they're in pain. Unless they're in pain, they don't want to spend hours in a dental chair. Often they don't want to spend hours in my office. I like to think that I make things at least somewhat interesting and hopefully a decent sense of humor, but I'm under no illusion that some of this stuff isn't great. So if you can celebrate financial milestones, your achievements. So if you work together as a team, celebrate as a team, it's going to make the progress that much better. Number 3, practice gratitude. Express gratitude for your partner's contributions to your financial partnership. This comes down to mutual respect. I think that's something that is missing from a lot of just what we do today. If you try to go into any sort of relationship, any sort of interaction from giving respect and looking for respect back, you're going to have better outcomes. So if you do these things, what you find is it's not just about expenses, it's not just about budgeting, but also earning income. If you have the conversations early about, how much, especially when you start thinking, how much do we need? Am I going to work till full retirement age? Are you? Especially if you're having these conversations before kids start. But even as people become empty nesters, these are good conversations to have. Are you both going to retire at the same time? Who's going to retire first? And obviously, this plays into your financial plan, but this is where having those open communications, putting just a little bit of time. I often look at my sons are on Prize Picks, and I tell them, if you can spend 2, 3, 4 hours a week on Prize Picks, not to mention the sports that they might be peaking at, you can spend a couple hours on that AP test. You can spend it on your ACT stuff. So if you can have time to do all these other, we can find an hour or two a month to devote about this for you and your partner to have a healthier, a wealthier relationship, which will lead to a healthier and wealthier retirement. You can hit subscribe, hit it.